Last time we talked was last year when Series 1 was about to come out, and since then it's gone on pretty well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. And we've shot Season 2, which we shot we started towards the end of July last summer, and we finished towards the end of November. Yeah, quite intensive, 4.5, 5 months.
We left the characters in quite a precarious situation.
Yeah.
Them. But Reverend Anderson, dear oh dear, I mean...
It's a mess, isn't he?
Yeah. So what?
Bit of a screw up, as they'd say in America.
Is he though? I mean, what can you tell us about where we left him and how we find him?
We've left him obviously where he thinks he's tried to get rid of Sydney by burning him down in the trailer in the woods. And then of course he sees Sydney in the town the following day and realizes that Sydney wasn't in the trailer. But who was? This is the question. So there's an element of guilt, certainly with Anderson. And yeah, he kind of hits pretty much rock bottom after that, and to the point where he's sort of booted out of the church. He's living out of his car, basically. So the only way to go is up after that. And I think as I was saying, the biggest thing within the story of Season 2 is really that the threat that is pervading the town it turns out to be a much, much bigger thing than any of the characters thought could possibly exist. So the stakes are high. So in particular, Kyle and the Reverend and Chief Giles sort of have to come together now. And on the plus side for the Reverend, and people actually start, as opposed to questioning him and questioning his sort of sanity, if you like, they begin to sort of piece things together and start thinking that actually maybe he had a point, maybe what he was saying wasn't as crazy after all. So, there are some redemptive features for it.
She had a monster inside of her.
He's very well received and loved from the majority of people, but we have some... I've found from brave in the pursuit of the truth and a decent man who's been tested to he's really annoying, beating people up if they disagree with him.
I can think of a few people like that, can't you?
Absolutely. It's just, how do you perceive him? Do you like him as a character yourself?
I find him I wouldn't say I like him. I find him a very interesting, from an actor's point of view, a very interesting character to play, a very complex man to play. What I find fascinating is how somebody could basically give up, one's family for this calling. Why would this need for God in your life to spread the word, to spread the message? I don't pertain to begin to understand that. So the next best thing is to try and understand it in order to play it convincingly. But I also kind of like his little quirks. He has moments, he has quite a good sense of humor, I think. And I always say to the writers, I said, we need to get a little bit of lightness in here maybe now and again, you know what I'm saying? And we have little moments of that, and certainly he forges, in this season, for instance, Megan and the Rev have never really seen eye to eye. Megan has never given the Reverend the time of day. She blames him for a lot of stuff that's happened within her family with Kyle, etc. And Kyle's mother. So, but they have a kind of an emotional connection in this season where she begins to see a different person in the Reverend, him in a different light. So he does have redemptive qualities that make him more human, if you like, which are the ones that I kind of like to.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is it important for you in any of the roles you've taken? Because you haven't really played villains.
No, not really. Villains are always, fun to play from that point of view, because you can go places with them and all that sort of thing. But the danger with just playing out villain could be slightly one-dimensional as well. So you always have to try and find. I was watching something with dear Alan Rickman the other week, and he was talking about playing the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Robin Hood movies, and he was very interesting because you know, when he first got the script, it was once for British actors to get Hollywood script, it's rubbish. So he went to some of his friends and said, you know, can I show you the script? Will you read it and give me some funny lines? And he came up with this great line where he's just in the corridor and they said, put a wench there and a wench 2 there. And he says, you, my room, 10:30, you, 10:45. And then he showed it to somebody else and had rewritten that, and they said, and he read those 2 lines, and this, I think it was Ruby Wax, and then said something like, add bring a friend. So you got you 10:30, you 10:45, bring a friend. Changes the whole scene, you know. So it's that kind of dynamic, and I don't know where I'm quite going with that, but you know, in terms of finding little moments of lightness and rather than you know a villain character being one-dimensional, just making them a bit of fun. So,
is that why you haven't played any villains so far? Like proper villains?
I don't know. I mean, I think Gene Hunt was meant to start out as being a bit of a sort of 70s dinosaur, but I don't think the writers quite wrote was that actually he was very, very funny, a very amusing character.
I had a discussion with a friend recently, and we said that perhaps now, if it was pitched now, Life on Mars and or Ashes,
Yeah.
or it was being produced now, perhaps Gene Hunt would have been seen as favorably, or would have been as popular with all this stuff coming up, and you know, social media apologies all the time, people backtracking, and
Well, do you know what?
Brexit.
I know. I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure the program would be made now because people would be, the powers that be would be too fearful of something like that. But I think a character. I mean, in many respects, the reason he became such a popular character was because it was more to do with the whole. I think it was the Blair, the new Labour government coming in, and the beginnings of that sort of nanny state where you were, and the political correctness thing, and people felt very stifled by that for fear of, you know, what can you say and what can't you say without it being construed as being misogynistic or racist or whatever. And I still think we have that more than ever in many respects. So I think that's why people sort of slightly rejoiced in Gene Hunt, because, you know, he said it like it was, but it wasn't. I don't believe he was misogynistic. I don't believe he was racist. He was just the sheriff, basically. It was a very simple thing for Gene Hunt. There was the good guys and there's the bad guys. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what colour your skin is. If you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. If you're a good guy, you're a good guy. And you bang up the bad guys, and the good guys run the world. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing that quite at the moment.
yeah. That's. Thank you for it, because we had that discussion. I was wondering what your views were about that now. Last question. Again, backstory. I saw Art being revived on stage now at the West End, and I always thought it would be perfect for you and John Sim to do it.
Yeah.
You buying the painting, you trashing it. But then I realized that John Sim is also in the US. So what's happening? Is there been like a deliberate drainage of UK talent to the US?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think one of the reasons is, you know, none of us are getting any younger as actors, and you know, I think parts do get harder to come by as you get older. Certainly for actresses, and to a much lesser extent, but for actors. But it's still there. You know, I'm not getting younger. I'm 53, 4 years this year, and so, you know, rather than just sit and wait for something to happen necessarily, if there's another market to explore in America, you know, with so many, television has changed so much in recent years, and with streaming and all that sort of thing. So with the amount of cable channels in the States producing really good television and having much more creative freedom and control and artistic freedom, if you like, and it's what we all search for. And I still think we can be a little bit narrow-minded in our views with some of our, you know, network television here. And, you know, you're seeing things on Netflix now, it's like The Crown, and how well that's doing on Netflix, and how well cast it is, how well written it is, how beautifully acted it is. And, you know, they're just left alone to make it. So, and in many respects with Outcast, we do have a much more creative freedom. Certainly Robert Kirkman is not at all controlling. He's quite the opposite. He just lets us get on with it. He says himself, my skill is the comic book side of things. That's what I do. That's what I know about. Your skill, you guys, you know how to make TV shows. You make it. Go do it, which is really, really refreshing. And so I think for British actors, it's just a question of looking beyond the boundaries of just what's going on in England.
But you are coming back, aren't you?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I'm going to be doing some stuff here for sure. Ideally, I'd want to do, to reciprocate, ideal world, do a bit in America, some over here. No, I wouldn't want to lose my profile here in many respects, for sure, absolutely. I want to work in my own country. I want to work in London. I want a job in London. So I sleep in my own bed.